I bought the mountain cabin 2 years ago. A fixer-upper. It sat forgotten near the Canadian Rockies, silent, surrounded by pine forests and crystal-clear streams. Perfect for my solitude. I didn't like people much. I'd spent too many years in crowded cities, drowning in small talk and fake smiles. Here it was just me, the wind, and the occasional elk. Or so I thought. It started with small things. Food disappeared from my kitchen, just bits at first. An apple here, half a loaf of bread there. Tools went missing from my shed and reappeared days later, scratched but functional. I assumed it was a bear or some hermit living rough. Annoying but not threatening. That changed one cold autumn afternoon. I returned from a long hike, boots caked in mud, and pushed open the creaky cabin door. My breath caught. Someone had been here. The fire I'd left smoldering that morning was now blazing warmly, crackling with fresh wood. A blanket, my blanket, was draped across my old rocking chair. Someone was here. My eyes scanned a room. "Hello," I called. My voice echoed off the log walls. Nothing. I stepped further inside, setting down my backpack. Then I saw it. A shadow darting into the corner of the room. The shape was small, slight. Definitely not a bear. I edged toward the kitchen, heart pounding. That's when I saw her. She was crouched behind the oak table, trembling. Her skin shimmered faintly, a translucent hue of silver and green. Her eyes, large and glowing faint violet, peered at me in terror. Long, spindly fingers clutched a scrap of cloth she'd fashioned into a makeshift hood, as though trying to disappear. An alien. My knees went weak. I gripped the counter to steady myself, mind racing. I'd seen enough movies to expect lasers or mind control or something, but she just hid, like a frightened animal. "It's okay," I said softly, holding up my hands to show I wasn't a threat. "I won't hurt you." She flinched but didn't move. I crouched down and slid an apple from my pack across the wooden floor. It rolled and bumped gently against her thin hand. For a moment, she didn't move. Then, with deliberate care, she grabbed it and disappeared behind the table again. So, she was hungry and afraid. What the hell was she doing here? Days passed. I didn't call the authorities. I wasn't sure they believed me. Instead, I stayed quiet, kept my distance, and left food in the cabin when I stepped out. By the time I returned, the food was gone, but nothing else was disturbed. I tried speaking to her, soft words in case she understood. "Are you hurt?" Silence. "Where did you come from?" No reply. But her violet eyes would peek out occasionally from corners, watching me. I started to see patterns. She wasn't just hiding. She was learning, observing me. The big breakthrough came a week later. I woke up one morning to find her sitting cross-legged on the cabin floor, staring at my fire with fascination. She didn't flee when I stirred. "Hey," I murmured, "you're not afraid anymore?" She looked at me, then down at her hands. Her fingers hovered in the air, mimicking how I had struck matches to start fires. "You want to know how?" I asked. I picked up the matchbox and demonstrated slowly. Her eyes widened, glowing softly in the dim room. She took the box carefully, fumbling at first, but then striking a match. For the first time I saw it, she smiled. A small, hesitant thing, but a smile nonetheless. Her name, or what she responded to, was Lyra. Over the weeks, Lyra learned quickly. I taught her to boil water, cook simple meals, and patch clothing. She absorbed it all like a sponge. When she tried to teach me something, soft hums and strange gestures, I realized it was her language. We communicated in half words and drawn pictures. She showed me her ship, how it had crashed nearby weeks ago. She was alone now, stranded. The forest had nearly killed her with its cold and predators, until she'd found my cabin. I was her only chance. Winter came early, and the snow piled high. Lyra adjusted well. She loved the fire, curling close to the hearth with the kind of reverence humans reserved for miracles. Sometimes, when I caught her watching the stars, her silver skin seemed to shimmer more brightly, as though she were calling to someone. But no one came. One night, the hum of machinery woke me. Lyra was already at the window, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Outside, a light pulsed through the trees, a search drone. "They're looking for you," I whispered. She nodded, trembling. Lyra was a fugitive. I realized then that whoever was searching for her wasn't here to rescue her. "Come on," I said. "We have to move." Grabbing supplies, I led her into the storm, snow whipping around us. The drone followed, its harsh beam cutting through the dark. Lyra stumbled, weak and disoriented, but I kept pulling her forward. We reached a small cave I'd used once while hunting. As we huddled inside, the drone passed overhead, oblivious to our hiding spot. Lyra looked at me, eyes full of gratitude. Days turned into weeks. Lyra grew stronger. We built a signal using parts scavenged from her ship, a desperate attempt to contact whoever might listen. I didn't know if it would work. Then, one quiet night, I found her staring at me. She placed her hand over her chest, her silver skin shimmering softly. "Eli," she said. It was the first word she'd spoken in my language. "My name." I smiled, feeling a strange warmth. "Yeah, that's me." Lyra pointed to herself. "Lyra's safe." "You're safe," I agreed softly. Her violet eyes shone, and for the first time, I believed it. A month later, the signal was answered. I woke to the deep hum of engines overhead and lights piercing the forest. Lyra stood outside, her skin glowing brilliantly as the ship descended. She turned to me one last time, placing her delicate hand on my chest. "Eli, home." "Yeah," I said, my throat tight. "You're going home?" With one final smile, she stepped into the light. I never saw Lyra again, but sometimes on cold winter nights, I look at the stars and wonder. I wonder if she tells her people about the human in the mountain cabin who hid her, fed her, and kept her safe. I like to think she does. And when the wind howls through the pines, sometimes, just sometimes, I swear I hear her voice, soft and musical, like a hum, calling my name. "Eli."